How important do you think posture is for the musician?
I think it's incredibly important. Just in, just not only the um, damage you can do in the future by having constantly bad posture for a long time, which I have. I'm the world's worst advocate for posture. But I always try to do as I say, not as I do with students and stuff. I think posture is incredibly important, not just for um, what it can do to you later, but I mean, just you can usually perform better if you have a very stable, consistent posture that you stick with.
What do you say is good posture?
Feeling like there's kind of a string kind of holding you up from center of your head and keeping your spine straight and your shoulders back. Very unlike what I've been doing this whole interview, but you know, uh, kind of shoulders back ish, but relaxed a little bit. And yeah, that's usually when a student or somebody asks me, how can I get into better posture? I actually have exercises that I'll give people who are struggling to kind of find that, because when people like have their whole life like this and they're so like this, and then you're just like, okay, have good posture, and then they're like this, it's like, no, that's not right either. But you have to find a good relaxed point somewhere between there that's good for you. Something I tell a lot of people is you can put your back up against a wall, and kind of that's almost like clue number one of just like, if your back is straight against the wall and your head is not all the way down, but like kind of at a neutral and comfortable place. If then you kind of lift up your arms a few times, you do I do ladder climbs. So if you have your back against the wall and you do ladder climbs like this, you're almost kind of like reprogramming your body into being like, oh, this is good. This is where we're supposed to be. So you almost always walk away from that standing up straight, exactly as you should. And I've learned this because, again, I've had terrible posture my whole life.
Right. How did you become aware that your posture should be fixed?
So I used to work for a theme park, and this wasn't the first time I was told my posture was bad. But so I was in the entertainment department, where you sing and dance and stuff. I did this right when I came out of high school, and we did this exercise where to work on our acting, to kind of practice acting, we would all walk in a circle, and we would all just walk, and we would closely examine the person in front of you and look at the way that they walk, the way they carry themselves, maybe, what their personality is just based on their walking. And the idea was then you turn around and you have to act like the person that you were just watching. And oh man, the person who was watching me would slump down, like, shoulders forward, and even said like, man, you've got like the worst posture I've ever seen in somebody. And I was like, all right, well, I should probably do something about that. When a student starts feeling the long-lasting effects of having good posture and realizing, wow, I can play a lot more without feeling fatigued or without feeling any pain, suddenly that kind of scaffolds this, their idea of, am I playing right, to just like, does it feel right? And I think that's kind of an important place to get a student to.
Definitely. Very difficult to actually get them to pay attention to things other than the metronome, the fingers, and all that stuff.
There's a lot of shortcuts. I would kind of play with my hand turned too much, where to do anything with my pinky finger would take like a very long journey from this to the fret over here, right? So I got into this habit of just like, kind of throwing my pinky at the fret that I was going for,
See that so much.
It's not good. But then I think it was my teacher who literally took my hand and said, now try it. This will feel uncomfortable for a while, but after a while, it was like, of course, why haven't I been playing like this?
Well, the problem is that your wrist's natural position is for the palm to face across your body. So to get it parallel with the neck, you've got to turn your wrist almost as far as it's capable of going, which which you might think, well, that's effort, but then yes, it makes it very difficult for your fourth finger. There are times when you've got to do that, like if you're playing an open A chord, you've got to bring your wrist around there, but you've got to understand that there are times when you've got to bring it back so that it's parallel with the neck. You can't have this one shape fits all when you're playing the guitar.
Definitely. The other thing that really kind of changed me too is like there really kind of should be as little reaching as possible. Like my teacher would always describe it as like you want your hand to almost be like over the fretboard in such a way that like all your fingers need to do is just fall on the fret. You know, they just need to like drop down, because then when you do that, the finger stays in the correct, you know, formation. It stays in that perfect arch because it doesn't have to do any reaching. Like there's almost no way to hyperextend any fingers in that way. And of course it takes less effort when you get good at it, you know, so that you can play for longer and stuff. So that was hugely eye-opening for me.
Based on my research on how the body works, I've actually redesigned the classical guitar, and I'm trying to raise some money to have that made. So I've designed the world's first truly ergonomic classical guitar. How open do you think, based on your experience as a classical guitarist at university, how open do you think the classical world would be to this?
Oh, not at all, but it would be wonderful. Oh man, that's very exciting. I mean, especially like something, you know, this well researched, and you know, that's extremely exciting.
Somebody else has encouraged me to keep the ergonomics and physiology thing going for YouTube, because it's not really being done. So
right, yeah. When you told me about the idea that, you know, this whole project that you've been doing, that's the first thing I said. Like that's incredible. Like I think that's going to be great, especially because it's coming from a researched place. You know, it's not just, you know, some 16-year-old in their, you know, bedroom, you know, saying like, hey, everyone sit up straight. Like you're actually coming, you know, from a scientific background, and I think that's really, really cool, and I think it's really interesting.